With an average time to beat of about 10 hours and some of the most rage-inducing challenges, Jump King is widely regarded as one of the hardest games of all time. And I decided to make it even harder by flipping my screen upside down, which not only completely messes up my perspective, but also messes up my sense of direction, because clicking the right arrow key would now make me go left, and the left arrow key would make me go right. With such a difficult challenge, you'd probably think that I'm pretty good at Jump King. No. This is my first time ever playing Jump King, and as part of the challenge, I'm also not allowed to watch tutorials on how to do any of the sections, meaning I have to solely rely on sheer willpower. And Twitch chat. And before anyone calls me a cheater because I can already smell the accusations in the comments, I streamed every second of this challenge on Twitch, and all of the VODs are uploaded to my VOD channel as proof. So, without further ado, I present to you Upside Down Jump King. It started out about how I expected it to. I immediately started jumping the wrong way and slamming myself into walls, which would continue to be a pretty prominent issue throughout this challenge. After about 10 minutes of falling, a lot, I had finally made it past the first two screens. But the third screen was where I ran into my first big problem. For whatever reason, I just didn't think I could jump any less than I already was, so I failed this single jump 48 times in a row before my savior Shymoff, a Jump King god, came into chat and gave me some amazing advice. This advice allowed me to finally move on and continue to make more progress, and after severely damaging my legs, I'd made it to a new section, Colossal Drain. And I immediately missed the first jump, so I had to spend another 30 minutes getting back to the drain. I was making decent progress when I got back, but then I fell and made the same mistake again. And again. I missed this jump a lot. While utterly failing this jump over and over, I accidentally went the wrong way and noticed something flash. This flash turned out to be a secret room with I couldn't really tell what it was, but I knew I wanted it, and now all I had to do was go get it. Oh. On my second try, I found out that it was actually a sweet new hat. With this lucky new hat, I was ready to finally take on the drain and get even closer to finishing this challenge. With the help of Shymoff, I was finally able to start making some decent progress when a new ally joined chat. Captain Crunch 1234. As a fellow Captain Crunch enjoyer myself, the Captain Crunch berries that is, and not the stupid oops all berries, I decided to make a promise to Captain Crunch. Whenever I get close to finishing this, I promise you, Captain Crunch, I will celebrate by eating some Captain Crunch. That will be the first thing I do after beating this. With images of the best cereal ever made in my mind, I was finally able to make it to a new section, False King's Keep. The nice thing about this section is that for a while it's impossible to fall very far, so I was able to progress without having to spend an hour getting back to this section. The not so nice part about it is that in order to move on, you have to eventually jump outside of it. And this jump is one of the most punishing jumps in the whole game, because if you miss it, you fall all the way back down to the drain. With my heart racing, I approached the edge, and I made it, but then immediately missed the next jump, and when I made it back about 10 minutes later, I missed it, and fell all the way back down to the top of the drain, and then fell again, all the way back down to the bottom of the drain. These two jumps screwed me over. A lot, but eventually I was able to do both of them in succession and make it to Bargainburg, the section with, in my opinion, the best music. I was making decent progress in Bargainburg until I got to what Shymoff said was one of the hardest jumps in the entire game. And after about an hour and a half of unfiltered pain and suffering, I finally got the jump. Just to miss the next jump, which in my opinion was even harder than the first jump. I thought this part was going to take me forever, but thankfully I was able to get both jumps about 20 minutes later. However, these jumps would continue to plague me for the rest of this challenge. The next 2.5 hours consisted of me falling more than ever, resulting in me spending a lot of time back in False King's Keep, the drain, and even all the way back to Red Crown Woods. But despite all of that, I had finally made it to the next section, Great Frontier. I didn't think this section was too hard, but even one simple mistake on this section would send me falling super far down, and it was extremely hard to get back up to it. Even though I was falling pretty far, I was finally starting to get used to being upside down, so I was able to get back up faster than ever. And eventually, I made it to my least favorite screen of the entire game. It's only a couple of jumps on some flagpoles, but it takes absolutely forever to get back to it after you fall. After messing up this screen in every way possible, I was finally able to do it. And after that, I entered this snowy area with jumps that again, weren't super difficult but could take hours to get back to, and I do mean hours. It took me over 4.5 hours to finally make it past the snowy section. At the time, I was overcome with joy, but little did I know I had just entered the worst section of the entire game, Windswept Bluff. This section is unlike any other. It has wind that's constantly moving left and right, and snow, which makes it so that you can't walk and can only move by jumping. At first, the wind was really messing me up because I kept trying to jump left or right, but I soon learned that it was a lot easier to just jump straight up and let the wind take me left or right. After learning this, I was able to make it through the windy part without snow and into the snowy, windy part. Yeah. Only being able to move by jumping in combination with the wind made this part extremely difficult. This section was more annoying than Jack Daughtery and was one of the only sections that genuinely made me mad. That hurts. That hurts. Oh, I forgot this isn't the... But as the former IQ Ball World record holder, I persevered. After failing repeatedly for over 6 hours, I was genuinely starting to lose it. When I was at my lowest, Shymuff saved the day once again by letting me know I was only a couple of screens away from a checkpoint that's basically impossible to fall from. And about 3.5 hours later, I had finally made it, only needed to make one more jump to get to the checkpoint. And I missed. But another hour later, I made it back and did this.
Can you feel it coming in the air tonight? So long.
Yes! Yes! Get me out of here right now! Checkpoint, baby! I had finally reached the checkpoint and entered the new section, Chapel Perilous. This section wasn't too bad, it just took a while to learn all the max jumps I needed to do, but after I figured it out, I was able to get through it pretty quickly. Unfortunately, the next section, Blue Ruin, was the complete opposite. Thankfully, there wasn't any wind at this time, but there was ice, and it wasn't as hard as the snowy wind section, but it was still super difficult. Up until now, I've had time to think about every jump before I do it, so I'd stopped accidentally jumping in the wrong direction for the most part. But with the introduction of the ice, I had to make split-second decisions to save myself from falling further, and I would often go the wrong way out of habit because I still wasn't fully used to my controls being flipped. I thought this section was going to take a really long time because of how long the snowy wind section took, but I was actually able to beat it for the first time in about an hour and a half. I had made it to the tower for the first time, which according to Shymuff was the last section of the game. The only thing weird about this section is that it would shake for a couple of seconds periodically, but that was about it. This was another section where again, it wasn't that hard, but falling from it could cause major setbacks, especially falling back onto the ice where it would just shoot my disheveled body further and further down. About an hour and a half after reaching the tower for the first time, I got my first look at the smoking hot babe. Alright. The pressure was on, and there were only 2 more jumps I needed to complete. Every fall, every jump, every wrong move, and every right move had led up to this moment. And of course I missed. What did you expect? I've done this a million times. I fell so far. But just like the 4,000 times I'd fallen before, I got right back up and returned to that smoky and hot babe once again. I locked in, took a deep breath, and made the same exact mistake again. Everyone knows third try is the charm, and with some helpful advice from Shymuff, I got into position, took a couple practice jumps, and... Yes! 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 Ah! Finally! Finally! Have a good after yesterday, and remember to take care of yourselves. See ya.